Google, just within the last 30 days, has rolled out a whole new version of what's called the Hotel Center. So your team you have to understand that there's a feeding live in order to get your inventory up, which is why they're working with the meta searches and the OTAs first and some of the bigger channel managers that are technically capable of feeding them real-time inventory rates, fees, et cetera. That's why that's where they started. Your team actually has Hotel Center that you're going to have to manage, as well as Google AdWords. So because they don't want to deal with cancellations, they are getting away from doing cost per acquisition or cost per conversion. And right now they're working on the algorithm for how much a click is going to cost. They don't want to deal with cancellations, changes, moves. My aunt got sick. They don't want to deal with any of that. And so it's all going to be based on cost per click, just like bidding on Destin vacation rentals or any other keyword. But you actually manage it at the individual unit level. And so what that looks like is you're going to have Hotel Center, which shows all of your individual units. And then you're going to have to bid on that unit getting listed in the Google Travel widget.
And this can't be done through the API or through your channel manager or anything like that?
I think it's going to be a mix. So some channel managers are expecting that the property managers are not going to want to handle the pay-per-click, and they're trying to figure that out. But the majority that I've spoken to are going to expect you to have a solution for how you want to manage your ads and the cost per click on those ads. So I have a tab up there for Florida vacation rentals. I just wanted to kind of show you guys that it's the third one. So if you look, you can actually search at any of these levels, and if you scroll down just a little bit, you can see that you can view all rentals in the state of Florida. So it's at every single level of the search funnel that they are showing this widget for destinations that have this information. So really thinking about your SEO, where everybody's been really on the long tail keywords and all of that. Think about how you want to show up in some of these really high traffic keywords as well. You can do the same thing for United States, which I believe is the fourth tab. So you can do the same thing, and it'll show you the whole country. But no matter what, it's basically going to pre-fill 3 weeks out from today, and every single query that you do is already pre-filled into the search results. And you're going to see that there's only these 4 listings. So can you imagine the hundreds of thousands of hits? This is what I mean. You're going to have an owner that says, I Googled United States vacation rentals, and I am not showing up. I mean, we all know this is going to happen, and the interesting thing is that you're going to bid on a keyword level for the individual properties to show up. Right now, it is not costing the OTAs or anyone showing up on this any money. So remember when Expedia said we had headwinds because of SEO and changes from Google? Guess what? Everybody's going to have headwinds when this actually rolls out as paid, because they're not paying for this traffic, and they never have. This is taking up all the space that used to be like the first 6 organic listings. This is going to be expensive, and it's going to drive a lot of traffic, because not only does it work on search, it's also on map, Google Voice Assistant. If you're driving around, you can test this, and you can ask the Google Voice Assistant, show me vacation rentals near me, and it's actually going to show you these search results. So really optimizing the language, using natural language in your copy, making sure that it's something that can be read back to you is really key. Can you click the first tab? This is what the legacy listings used to look like. So it's like Sea Island is a good example of a destination that doesn't have any inventory yet that's showing on Google Travel. So you can see, like, they don't even show, if we scroll up a bit, all the way up to the top there, this is the Google business listing. Remember when we all went crazy trying to make sure that our Google business listing was merchandised right? They're making it disappear. It does not show up anymore on any of these destinations. It's still important because it's where the reviews are still being aggregated, so you don't want to ignore it, but it's not nearly as important. And so you'll see on this legacy, there used to be 2 to 3 ads at the top, and then you would have, if you scroll down a little bit while I'm talking, the majority of this page is organic. So between that business listing, about 80% of the page is organic. If we click to the second tab, which is Destin Vacation Rentals, You get down to less than 40% of this page, it's all ads. There's no Google business listing anymore. You keep scrolling down. Still more ads. You finally get to organic, ads at the bottom. There's usually 4 to 5 organic spots left on the entire page. So it's really a completely different world as far as your entire SEO strategy and really focusing in on pay-per-click. Most of you probably still don't have someone on your team that's AdWords certified. It's $50 to take the test and all the classes are free. I can't recommend it more. I mean, this is something that you have several months to get ready for this to go live. There's no reason why not to just stick somebody smart and eager in front of Google AdWords University to really get them familiar with this before it rolls out. Can we go to my presentation real quick? I want to show you guys a few more things. Actually, no, let's go up to the tabs just because I know I don't have a ton of time. I can't see my own tabs anymore. Let's just go to yeah, this is great. Okay, so in Destin, this is what I was talking about with the filters. As you guys can see, these kind of really line up with Jason's numbers as far as inventory goes. If you were to add up all of the destinations, it's really close to that 12,000 that he was looking at. But if you look, there's some filters underneath. I know there's that pop-up right now that says discover best prices. But can we go to amenities really quick? So we started out with 3,948 vacation rentals. If you click amenities, can you click crib? This is the same 12. If you are looking for something in Bosnia, these are the same 12. I don't know what Google's thinking. If you look in a ski destination, same 12. Asks if you have a pool. I really don't understand why. But if you go back up, if you look, it went down to 10 vacation rentals. How many of you think that that's a real search result, that there are only 10 rentals in Destin with a crib or access to a crib? So if you click out of that crib again and then just go back in, go into, this has actually gotten better in the last 30 days. If you go click Wi-Fi, here's the other one that's really funny. Free Wi-Fi. 754 rentals have Wi-Fi. So because your PMS doesn't have Wi-Fi as an amenity that's feeding to a channel that is then feeding and mapped properly to Airbnb or HomeAway, it's not showing up right. So that owner is not only going to say, why aren't I on that Google thing? They're going to say, I am not showing up for Wi-Fi. So there's a lot of things you need to think about of how you're going to manage this. The other thing you'll notice is these all show reviews, which are really critical for how your units are showing up in results. Really picking the right partner is critical. If you go with a channel manager that cannot aggregate your reviews because they're just pure channel managers, that means your listings won't have reviews. Just to save time, because this is also really critically important for you to think about, let's click through to one of the Airbnb listings, the second one there, the 2-bedroom commodity St. Martin Beach Walk Villas. Actually, just click any of them. I'll show you guys. Okay, so they have what they consider a property details page. They're just pulling this data out of the feed. Pricing and availability. If your pricing does not match perfectly from this page all the way to your website, they will kick you off of Google. So the minute that this goes live, they actually have a bot that is querying and doing these checks all the way through to your website and checking to see that your rent and your fees lines match. And they've actually rolled out entire policies on these landing pages to help you understand how critical this is. Also, the number of violations. So the more violations you get that your prices are not matching, the higher your cost per click is going to go up until they finally kick you off. So if we click through to book, this is other really critical. This is something you can be working on right now. They also rolled out a policy called referral page policy, which is saying they have an expectation for what your booking experience has to be, which is another reason it's taking so long to roll out because all of us have such different booking funnel experiences. So if you don't have a minimum click to actually book, and your pages don't load in a certain number of seconds, they will disqualify your rental as well. And I can tell you, I've checked over a dozen of your websites, and your sites are not loading fast enough. So that's something you can fix right now, so you're not disqualified from Google when you can get on there. So you'll see the Airbnbs, TripAdvisor, HomeAway, they're actually landing you instead of going from that property details page to right into the booking flow. Google is allowing the meta search companies to actually drop you on a search results page like this, which I think is super confusing. That tells you the one that you were on, but offers you other options. But as an individual property manager, you have to drop them directly into the booking flow. So they do not want you to drop them on a page like this. If we were to go back to Destin Vacation Rentals for a second, the Google Travel, yep. Can we click one of the Vacasa ones, if we can find one? There's a couple different, methodologies. So Vacasa is dropping you onto a property details page. Yep. So if you click their book, you can see this is like direct to a property manager. It's dropping them directly onto the property details page. The dates have to match. So your website needs to be ready to be able to give dynamic URLs with tokens so that the query, the dates that were used in Google Travel can be passed directly onto your website. So those prices have to match, right? So if your website just drops them onto the property page but doesn't pre-fill the calendar, you're going to get disqualified. And so there's this example as well where it goes directly into that. You can go through the booking process and just book. Rentals United actually uses an interstitial, so like a modal that pops up that goes straight into booking. They don't even go to the property details page. So there's a couple different models out there based on the different channel managers that you can talk to. As of right now, the only channel manager that can positively tell me that if you contact them, they can get your inventory live is Rentals United. I haven't had anybody go all the way through the process yet, but I have several companies I've helped get started. And I have no preferences. I'm just saying, like, everyone else isn't onboarding any properties right now. But Rentals United has a completely different example of this, and they don't drop onto your website. They actually build microsites with all of your inventory, and they control the whole thing. So they're using an even different path because that's one of the reasons Google's letting them onboard inventory is because they've made the booking process consistent regardless of what the company is. And so really interviewing your partners, it's not as important, like price is always important, what the commission rate is that you'll pay them. Are they gonna allow you to manage your pay-per-click? Are they not gonna allow you? But really, Rentals United is building a website. They're not using yours. They do put your branding on it with theirs. But others are going to have to use your website and it might not be ready for it. If we go to my presentation real quick, I do want to give you guys some time for questions. We can skip to a couple slides because I want to show you their policies and how they're actually doing the cost per click based on if your prices match or not. They also have very strict guidelines for how your rent comes across versus your fees. Let's click through a couple slides. Yep. Keep going, we did that one. We can keep going. Actually, let's go back up to that one really quick. So one of the reasons this is also really difficult is that Google has a very strict, we can click this link. If you click the image, we should be able to go into it. But Google has had a gate that there has to be at least 15,000 properties. Their servers have to be certified by Google in order to get the inventory on. Google has been very, very slow to bring on new partners. And so if any of you guys are curious, maybe you're a really tech-forward company and you want to build your own integration, this is the form you would use to actually start that process. I have heard that they are trying to be a little bit more lenient on the 15,000 properties. Can we go to the next slide? So this is kind of what Hotel Center looks like. And so you can see that once your feed is set up, you're going to have an entire admin where you can check and see your scores on your properties, meaning does your URL, your referral URL work, and does it meet their guidelines? There's going to be some reports on that. Prices, and you can see Accuracy score, predicted price accuracy score, and list price success rate. And so they're trying to make it front and center. This is what the login page looks like. If you violate this, it's super critical. And landing pages, the number of configured total coverage of those property pages above. They also give you recommendations. One of the cool things is when you work with this, and if you have someone on your team, which I would be so excited to find out that you guys get someone on your team that can handle this, the amount of data is amazing. Google actually shows you how many people searched every single query and how many times you had success and showed up for it, and how many times you had missed opportunities because your property had no availability or your property had a minimum night stay violation. So the amount of data that you can get out of this hotel center is amazing. So imagine hotel center is where you're going to manage your feed and what's going on with your landing pages. AdWords is where your person would still manage your cost per click and manage those bids, which is cool because you get a new property, you can bid more. You have a property doing well, you bid less. There's a lot of opportunity in this. This is the price accuracy score, and you can see like there's a positioning threshold. Below this threshold results in a negative impact on auction positioning and final cost per click. If you have enough, and they show you kind of if you're in red, yellow, or green, and then they show you once your account, it's not that property, the entire account will get suspended if you have pricing accuracy issues. Also, your policies have to match, so you can't have different cancellation policies or refund policies showing on Google, and then they're different on your website. That's not acceptable either. They have a taxes and fees policies. None of these existed for hotels. These are all new policies on Google Travel because of vacation rentals. And so these are all the fees, all the examples of fees that you have to disclose and explain to your guests that they exist both in the Google view and in on your website. So however you display them, you have to be consistent. Again, this is another reason if you violate this policy, they will kick you off. They would consider this a pricing policy violation if those didn't match. If we go to the next slide here, this is that referral experience policy. This is the one that the navigation must be clear and simple. They're going to measure how many clicks it takes to get into the booking funnel. Pre-populated data on Google Travel has to flow, the dates. Several of you have your first page of your booking flow is how many guests are coming. That won't work. That's not something that passes over from Google, so you couldn't land them on that booking page. So that's something that you could really go back to today and think about, let me look at my website and where does my booking funnel start? Can I even land on that page from Google? The next one is, this is a good example of, that booking funnel starts at how many guests. You can't do that as according to Google. You also, your booking page, not only does your site speed have to meet Google standards, but your individual booking pages, you can get the page speed for free. Just Google page speed test and put in your first booking page. Has to be under 10 seconds. You're like, of course my site loads in less than 10 seconds. I guarantee you on mobile it doesn't. Most of you I've tested and it doesn't. It's very, very slow. And so again, these are all things you can work with your web developer on now, even though you probably can't get your inventory live. So load times, how many clicks to book? Can your URLs handle passing that data back and forth? What would those look like? Who's going to handle your PPC? I can tell you that most channel management companies don't have PPC teams waiting to help you with this. They might be working on it, strategizing about it, but even the company that you might use today isn't familiar with hotel ads and how this particular pay-per-click works. So this is something that you really need to start researching. Again, cancellations, you're not going to get your money back. Whatever you paid for those clicks to convert, they don't refund. So thinking about that from a budgeting perspective. How are you going to have reviews feed onto Google? The partner that you choose, can you feed reviews to them and then they feed it on for you? Or are you going to have listings that show up lower because they can't feed reviews over? And again, the owner relations piece I can't speak to more. Just really educating your owners now, having this conversation now and explaining how Google Travel works would be super helpful. Any questions? I know I went super fast because we had so many technical difficulties. And most of the hecklers have been really well behaved in here today, but If we go back to that slide, that last one there. For those of you that don't know, I've had a few last names. I've gone through some rebranding recently. You might have met my husband. He's speaking later. But been around the industry for almost 20 years. And I'll have a new blog that I'm launching as soon as this weekend, actually, called The Graduate Experiment. So you guys can follow me on there. And I have I'm doing a project, my master's degree, but also working with Brown University's AI department with data from the vacation rental industry, working on some fun things in the revenue management space. So any questions?
Yeah, Amber, good presentation here. Is Google requiring price parity?
It's only price parity with your website. So they don't care if your prices are different on other channels. It's that whatever price you feed them, you have to show on your landing page. So since you're still the merchant of record, they don't want those to not match.
So define website. So what if you have multiple websites?
Doesn't matter. It's the URL you're giving them to that Book Now button from that property details page. So that's one option. I didn't bring that up, but that's something you guys can think about. If your main website, you don't want to change the flow because it works really well, launch a microsite, and that's what you link up with Google Travel. That's how Rentals United is doing it to create that consistency. Any other questions?
If the property is feeding through VRBO or Airbnb, when they click on it, it's going to redirect to those websites, right? Not your own.
Right, so you're not getting, they right now are getting all that traffic for free, and that's what I meant about Expedia's earnings call where they said they were having headwinds with some of the Google changes. This is going to cause headwinds for some of these OTAs when they have to start paying for those clicks, and somebody's going to pay for those.
So with that, you showed the listings that had like red awning.
Yeah.
And red awning, if you click on that, you go to the red awning page, but they're the channel manager.
Right.
So how does the money flow? So you pay red awning a commission if they book, or is it a
Nobody has
conversion?
figured that piece out. If you get on Rentals United or NextPacks can get you, they can't get you on now. They're working with one manager in the US. They mostly have Europe live. But when they can get you on, nobody's charging a commission from a channel management standpoint right now because they haven't figured out because they don't control the conversion. Like conversion's happening on your website. They're not the merchant of record. It's never happening. And so the only cost that anyone knows is coming is the cost per click that you would pay AdWords. So the channel managers haven't figured out monetization yet either. Does that make sense?
So I think it was fascinating to see that Expedia really took that huge dive based on this. And
they haven't felt it yet on the vacation rental side. They're feeling it on the hotel side with changes because hotels now similarly show up, and so a ton of traffic and a ton of costs weren't anticipated. But now HomeAway, the VRBOs, the Airbnbs, when this gets monetized and they actually have to pay for that traffic, it's going to hurt. Michelle, do you have? It's swapped. It was highly likely, and now they're saying it's going to be cost. They're trying to get to cost per click instead of being commission. If you look at Hotel Center, you can always choose to do a percentage of conversion. You can have a goal set up that says, I want it to be that way. So it's never going to not be an option, but they're trying to push it as cost per click because if they did a commission model, they don't want to deal with cancellations. So that's the sticking point. That's actually been one of the biggest delays. So it's looking like it's going to be a pure like in AdWords cost per click.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, whenever you have the microsites, could you explain a little bit more? Is that just 1 page to 3 pages of a micro website?
It can be, however, you can actually do it the way if you look at Rentals United, there's no home page to these sites they set up for your inventory. It's a property details page, like every property gets a property details page and the booking flow. So you can book a property and you can check out, but that's it. And so you can build a microsite that has your brand on it and has a home page. It's just, and you don't even have to do this. It's just if you don't want to change your main site's booking experience, that's an option that you can take. But most of this traffic is mobile, you guys. So again, mobile optimization is missing wholeheartedly across the industry still today. Just responsive does not mean your website's optimized.
Hi.
Hi. Hi.
Is this on? Okay. My question is I had actually two questions. So one is, of the partners who are currently being presented through Google, do you have one that, like if you were to give us a rough grade of like they're doing everything right, they're checking all the boxes, they're lined up to do very well on the platform, do you have one that kind of stands out as they're kind of ahead of the game doing well?
So actually, that's a great question. So actually, if you look at BookingPal, if you look at NextPax, they're using your website. They're not getting in the middle of it. They're just acting as somebody who does the feed for you. And so that's really, like for me, who I would want that kind of experience. But I think Rentals United has traction with Google and can get your inventory live the fastest right now, because not everybody's website is qualifying. So, okay, forget that. They built these pages that do qualify every single time. So I really think, and they're co-branding with you. So I don't think that one is better than the other. I think that well,
specifically, I mean, in cases where you're going to be penalized when you get the click-through to the booking page. So just, I don't want to call anybody out, but I was like testing here, and I clicked through on a red awning as you were talking about the check-in and check-out dates filling in automatically, and that didn't happen on that, so I'm assuming that would be scored as a violation, so perhaps
your cost would go up. And
Oh.
that's why it's not mainstream yet, because every single one of these companies, Red Awning, NextPax, all of them, are working out the bugs. They're working
Yeah.
out the kinks. So there's not one today. Like, all I can tell you is if you were like, I have to get my stuff on Google Travel today, the only one you could talk to that could say, I can do it for
Yeah.
you, is Rentals United.
Okay, awesome. My other question is more of just a thought to put out there and to get your opinion on. I wonder if we, as a group, would consider whenever the property managers, when we all are invited to participate on this platform and we're given an opportunity to pay extra to rank higher, to rank listings higher, to get more bookings and more visibility on the listing level. It reminds me of when Verbo took away that tiered subscription level on the premise that they didn't want people paying to have the least, the worst listings at the top. I mean, people were paying to put their worst converters up there. Is this something that you think that Google down the road is going to have to think about and work against, so that they don't end up with people paying a lot of money to put a lot of kind of unsightly listings at the top of the page?
Conversion is going to play a part in it, because with Google, you actually have to put a JavaScript, you change your Google Analytics JavaScript slightly on your landing page or on your booking engine so that they can measure the conversions. So conversion is a factor that they talk about, which is why they want the minimal amount of clicks, which is why the page speed has to load. So just bidding higher isn't going to mean that you'll always have success. So there will be, but I'll tell you that I have a prediction, and it's whoever has the best AdWords certified pay-per-click person is going to do the best. Like whoever really gets their website ready and has someone on their team that knows what they're doing is going to do the best, because this is one where you need that person can talk to the owner relations manager every day. What unit did we bring on? What's working well? What's not? They need to be arm in arm with your revenue management and owner relations team. Anything else?
Could you go into a little more detail about the review aggregation and how that's being determined? Because I'm seeing right here, it looks like Red Awning has 16, but are they pulling from all different sources or just one for this?
It's whoever Red Awning, like if that listing has a PMS that has reviews in it, Red Awning is showing it. If Red Awning was working with a property manager that the PMS had no reviews in it, they couldn't show it. So the channel managers don't necessarily and have never had to deal with reviews, so this is something they're all also working out. Sorry, I thought I heard another question. Anybody else? But just so you know, reviews are key, and Google's doing some A/B testing to where sometimes the reviews show the guest name and sometimes they don't. So you can tell that Google's putting a lot of attention on the reviews right now.
Got one over here.
So as an individual property manager, you're saying there's only 4 or 5 channels now that we could use because they're limiting it to group sizes, say, of 15,000 units. What should we do to, if we wanted to be individually listed on Google Travel, what steps should we be taking now? You said maybe get Google certified. Anything else that we should be doing now to?
I can give you that link to the form that you can go through, but that's what's interesting about NextPax and BookingPal and how they're taking a look at it, which is slightly different than Rentals United. It's opaque. So the customer would see your brand. They would never see NextPax. NextPax and BookingPal are not consumer brands. So they're getting your inventory. They're like a technology partner getting your inventory on, but it would show your brand, which is why they're taking a little longer than Rentals United, because Rentals United is the brand. So that's one of the benefits of waiting. Does that make sense?
All right, so Amber's going to hang out here through around lunch. I think she's got to head back to Oregon then. But so she'll be around to take some of your questions. We're going to take a little break. The next session is in here about regulations at 10:50, and then the other 2 sessions are across the hall.
Also,
so thanks.
I'll send you guys this link if you want it. Google's team is really funny. They put their stuff in Google Drive when they're doing events. And I found, in all this research, I found their UX playbook for travel is like their internal document on the user experience they recommend. So happy to give this to anyone.
We'll send that
who's
link too.
Yeah.
We'll work with you on that. Amber, this was really good. I'm just fascinated by this whole thing, but it's a little threatening. I'm a little really concerned about it. I mean, so I really appreciate you introducing this, and if you and I can work together to put out some webinars over the next few months, it would be, I think it would be really helpful.
Happy to help.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.